Welcome to Real Talk with Reginald D. I'm your host, Reginald D. On today's episode, I have Dr. Glenn Toby. He's a TEDx speaker and CEO of Glenn Toby Enterprises. He deals with real estate, asset management, technology, and entertainment and athlete management. Dr. Toby is also a hip-hop legend known as Sweety G. His career spans 30 years from an 80s music industry pioneer to a leader in the entertainment and sports management world. Dr. Toby is also a philanthropist and is the founder of the Bookbank Foundation, Incorporated, a literacy organization. Welcome to the show, Glenn.
Reg, thanks for having me, brother. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Likewise, man. Although you're busy, man, I really appreciate this opportunity tonight.
Well, we're going to get it out the mud because I know media runs in your blood, bro.
Yeah. So, Glenn, let me ask you this question. Can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what your childhood was like?
Absolutely. I'm born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. My mother's from Georgia. Father was Mississippi through West Virginia, by way of West Virginia. And my father wasn't in my life. At 8 years old, I experienced youth homelessness. Crown Heights, Brooklyn, came home. My brother, Randall, mother, and I, all of our possessions dispossessed in the street. And we had bounced around with relatives, support from the government, favorites and friends, up until about the 7th grade. And then I went to a place called Queens Village, Hollis, Queens, Run DMC, Russell Simmons. And I was one of the hip-hop pioneers for Queens, one of the first rappers, Mr. Sweety G. This was during DJ Divine, Infinity Machine, Disco Twins, Understand It from Cypher Sounds, and so many others. And I had the honor of performing in all 5 boroughs, borrowing the old school singing style, merging it with battle rapping and speed rapping to create my own kind of vibe. And I got to play with Dougie Fresh, Grandmaster Flash, Busy B. Starsky, all those guys. And it was an amazing time then. So, I was able to take, I think, storytelling. When I was a kid, I was looking through the eyes of a child, but I saw the entire world with no limits. We didn't lack love. We were never harmed. We didn't miss any meals during our struggle. And it allowed me to have the gift of telling a story, and it would ultimately follow me to be a speaker, a man that could transfer action with words and turn words into action.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one thing about it, man, I remember those days when the 80s rap and all that stuff came out, man. That was real battle back then. People say you battle rap. That was real battle, man. I would see it on TV. I was living in South Carolina. It'd be on MTV. It'd be on something. And the cats, man, they'd be in the street, man, with the boom box or the turntables, and they just going, it's a lot different than it is today. No disrespect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, man, it was battle tested back then, man. You had to come with it.
You did.
So you've gone from the streets of Brooklyn to an 80s rap sensation to Forbes features and boardrooms. What part of that journey still grounds you the most today?
I think being the gift of song, in the form of rap, lyrical poetry, it allowed me to master my words as a speed rapper and having to choose your words and be witty. It followed me to my professional career where you can be a wordsmith and have a gift of gab, be great with words, but it's got to be substance. And the greatest words and the greatest communicating, it's the words you don't say. It's where the comma is, the inflection, the choice of words. And the gift of listening is the most powerful word you can give, to take it in versus putting it out. You can take it in and hold it. It can be a tool or it can be a weapon. And learning that language is so sensitive that we have to watch how we talk to people and what we say. And that gift of words, the conscious realm of hearing, whether it's the calling of God, whether it's the calling of my soul, how I see the world, how I saw the world, what people are telling me, what I'm telling the world. That mighty tongue, that word, it can seal deals. It can bring ideas and people to life, or it can become your own death. The power of the word was my gift. And it became my ministry, like the work I do, as you know, with the charity, with Bookbank. So this talking, it had to make sense. It had to resonate. That was my gift young, when I had nothing else. I had imagination, and I had to learn to craft and curate those words And it still takes us all our life, even in communicating to whether it's your children, your loved one, how you feel and what you think. It's a great gift, or it can be a curse.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me dive into this a little bit. I want to go back to the 80s rap career where you was known as Sweety G. How did that form when you knew it was like, hey man, you know, I got this, or whatever the case for me? What made you say, hey, I'm gonna do this, this is my name, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do this thing?
So when I first got into it, I went to a club and Infinity Machine was performing with a brother named DJ Flowers from Brooklyn. He was he'd be like a Cool Herc in Brooklyn. He'd be like a DJ Hollywood from Brooklyn or Grandmaster Flash, any of these guys with a different style. And I got on the mic when things were slow and I did the raps because I used to do pause tape raps. That's when back in the day, we would take two or one big box. You remember the box, Red? When people had the double cassette, you play your music, put the mic in, and as you're recording, it would become a multi-recorder. That's what pause tapes were. So I became popular in the neighborhood doing it. When I had the chance to get on the mic when things were slow, I found my voice. I found my inner voice. I found my spirit, my ability to connect and command a crowd. And it changed my life right there. And I didn't know that God was commanding me to master the message of my own as a young man trying to find my message, but it's carried me to where I try to give God's message, man's message, and my own, all in the same time with the same responsibility. So going on that microphone and rocking the crowd and seeing that I could compete with the greatest, I just didn't look back. It was my calling.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So now you're talking about the music industry and you got into the game. How did the music industry influence your approach to business and philanthropy today?
Wow. That's a great question again, Reggie. For me, the gift of song is timing, measure, vibe, structure, arrangement. So when I'm negotiating, like, obviously in the NFL, I was an agent. I had a wonderful agency with Alonzo Shavers. We did over $300 million in business. We did Santi Samuel's $60 million deal, Damian Robinson, countless stars. And when you're negotiating, going back and forth, you have to get the rhythm to know when to not cut the other person off or cut that other person off. You have to catch the rhythm, the cadence of when they're speaking, the tone, the temperature, the feeling. And I keep saying what they don't say, the indelible word. What are they thinking? And you develop a poise, you develop a strategy that you don't always show the cards that you're holding. You don't always show that the cavalry's coming. If you're losing, you're in trouble. As an entertainer, you're able to bounce sound and move around and see people moving. You can bring it off the big stage, I'd say, to any stage of the deal or any stage of the negotiation or any stage of the business discussion. So I think it carried me in terms of development as a young man and how to write things and like what I want to express and how to appreciate a crowd and how to rehearse. All of that helped me. It was training, it was discipline, and it was the art, which became the art of me dealing, not the art of the deal, but me dealing and changing in each opportunity.
Yeah, because the thing about it, what you said is that sometimes you don't show your hand to everybody, and things like that. And I always say to myself, when doing anything in life, you got to make sure you're 5 steps ahead of everybody, even though you ain't telling them nothing. You know, you got to stay 5 steps ahead of it. You
Yeah.
might be losing sleep. You might be overthinking. It might be whatever that takes time out of your day, but you got to make sure you're ahead of the game when it's all said and done. Because when things come, you know how to handle it. And then you have to leverage.
Perfectly said, brother. Whether it's and like a jazz musician or when you're freestyling. See, that was really you saying that. Yeah, the freestyling came into strategy, negotiating, and timing, right? When I think about it. So I say I would give it to the ability to change and shift and adapt. Music helped me with that in adapting to the conditions or the terms or the discovery in a negotiation or in me expressing or providing counsel or covering for a client.
Exactly. So let's talk about this. I think this is big with people. I really love your story and the things you went through and the things you overcame, and who you are today. So let's talk about this. Homelessness can break the spirit of so many people. What mindset shift helped you go from surviving to building your legacy?
Wow. Gee whiz, Reg, what you doing to me today? That's a good one, brother. I think it's continuing because when you said, like, when you've overcome, you're overcoming every day. More recently in my TED Talk, which you can find on my YouTube channel, Dr. Glenn Toby, I talk about healing. And we're healing every day of our life. We don't have to repeat the same trauma. We don't have to repeat the same pain, but we confront it because it's fragments. They're parts of our DNA. It's like a muscle, scar tissue. You have to know how to move through all of that and see it as the beauty of the creation of your soul and your purpose. So I think my self-discovery on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and always for decades, even going back, and I don't know if you do it, man, you could think of something your grandmother said to you. You could think of something that a friend said to you. How did you fail in a great relationship? Like you were playing ball, Reg, you came down the court and you got an argument with your boy because you didn't pass the ball and they're teasing you. And you have us, and it's really get serious. People got to break it up. It might go to hands. It may not. All of these parts are extensions that I believe come from epigenetics, come from the programming of our DNA, from how we are not just raised, causation in the community, environment, how we exchange with others, but some of it is genetic coding. And I think it's a struggle every day. My premise and my philosophy is that we have to re-engineer ourselves. It's a struggle every day. Like, what's your temper like? How does it get better? You're looking at relationships that don't work. How can we make the difference and be the difference? I think that's the gift that I get, to wake up every day and know that I'm not finished. Pray that my best deal or my best work or my best gift to the world has not been given yet. My best creation hasn't been done yet. And that's why conversations like what we're doing right now, prayerfully, there's some kid that my career, your career, we're doing that wants to discuss some of these topics or have a podcast like you. I mean, we're still curating and building. So I know I'm not finished.
That's it. That's it. I don't think you finished till the day God say, hey, well done, my good and faithful servant. I think that's when you finish. Yeah. The legacy still lives on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yep, that's it. So what do you believe is the greatest misconception about people who grow up in poverty?
I think the greatest misconception is people, have a tendency of judging people by an area code, by a community, by a part of town. We all do it. This we do on the West Side, this we do on the South Side, this great ball player, this teacher, this person. So I think people look at the hood as though the hood's not good. And these communities that are underserved, they bring a resilience, a form of creativity, an inspiration, a power, something that is channeled like all the force in the world. And when you trigger it and hit it and it goes, there's nothing that can stop it. From the greatest athletes, politicians, thinkers, ministers of our time in these core communities, they're without immunity when they come to the masses because people are judging them. They're looking at how this person walks, where they're coming. But the nuance of our people is so complicated, and our people can be a white farmer or someone that's in a trailer park. It could be an immigrant that comes to the country that's in their part of town. It could be, the hood where I come from. And my hood was a good hood. My hood was a neighborhood. We were neighborly to one another. And I think people forget that it's a neighborhood. They just grab hood and they classify the way we look or move or some of the issues we have as the hood. So I just think people don't understand that it holds so much potential, man. You know this.
Yeah.
It's not about economics. It's about this space, this cultural space, and this label and identification that they give us.
Absolutely. And me coming from a single parent home in the neighborhood, hood, or way you want to call it, the thing about it, you were taught or you saw how to be creative. Your mom can take a little bit of this and that and make a nice meal out of it. You'd be like, man, how did you make this out of this? We only had a little bit of this. It was all about, there was creative, man, and they made more with less. And that's the thing, when you look back on your life, I think one of the biggest things about me is that I look on my grandfather, that was picking cotton back in the days. They didn't have but a 7th grade education, but he owned his own businesses. He owned his own churches. He owned his own convenience store, the meat market, owned land and stuff like that. It's like, man, when you look at stuff like that, it shows you a picture that, okay, you can come from this place, but this place is not where you're supposed to be. It's another place you're supposed to go. And God has given
Nice.
you the vision through your ancestors and people like that. So I get it, man. I really get it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Glenn. You often say you're a walking testament to transformation. When did you first realize that your pain, well, let me ask you this. When did you first realize that you turned your pain into purpose?
From a young child, my grandmother would inspire me, self-esteem, love, guidance, prayer. And I realized, inside our home, my brother Randall and I, we didn't miss anything, lots of culture, lots of love. We go to museums, do all these things until we were displaced for a bit. And I realized that it was a badge that God had appointed me with the ability to learn how to live in lack without being held back. And I don't live in a spirit of lack. I live in a spirit of gain. I think by being reduced to common discipline, appreciation, creativity, it allowed me to be a person that would share, that would give, not wanting it all. And I got it all, untold amounts of attention and support and wisdom and money and fame and power and granted gifts. And I've always shared it. I'm a master giver. I would say many will outlive me, but not many will outgive me. And I think if you want to give, when you give strong, you live long. So I feel like all of the punishment, the pain, the torture, the trauma, it was just educating me. I had a life full of joy. Like I loved my parents, my mother, my grandmother. I championed my failures because I'd go back and work hard, And I think those hardships are granted to somebody that is supposed to be a leader. You're not supposed to lay down and cry. You're not supposed to lay down and die. You're not supposed to even ask God why. But you're supposed to take all of these indelible pieces and use them as materials or as tools for construction, not destruction.
Right. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And I want to ask you this question. Now, you advise a lot of high profile athletes and artists, such as LL, Cool J, Olympian Smith Lane, actor Lance Reddick, NFL, Shanta Samuel. I mean, what made you stay rooted and have that integrity when you are advising them or managing them and doing the things that you do? Because a lot of times I feel like when somebody allows you in their space, you know, you can say some things, but they're like, hey, man, at the end of the day, it's me, it's my stuff. So what kept you grounded and kept your values intact when doing all of this?
Well, I stumbled along the way in life. I've made choices that are not the best choices. I learned the hard way, but I think there were a few times if I failed and made a mistake, it was never from the heart. If I had a business decision, it was from the pocket, not the heart, the mind, or the soul. Money doesn't connect with me like that. And what I did was I shifted my entire business and I gave the artist, the athlete, or the client all the control. Because there were a few times that they'd spin it on me. I'd get somebody paid. I'm not going to say any names. I'd get somebody paid and they decide they didn't want to pay me. They decide that they wanted to shorten the pay. Man, I need this. You're already rich. You have. And I said, how I would fix this is let the artist be paid. Let the artist get everything. And prayerfully, my service will be enough that they'll want to pay me. Or I'll connect so strong as a service provider with integrity for the client against the record company, the team, and they'll know I'm a sovereign person. I discovered David Banner and the rapper, actor, amazing, amazing human being. And at the time, the way the contracts were made, it wasn't a favorable contract for him. So we had to go work things out. We worked it out. He's my brother. And we worked it out amazingly. And I was learning that this is business. There's a difference between business and spirituality and personal, but you can keep the ethics and morality and principles, but sometimes that's going to shift that monster and you can't personalize it. Sometimes you're going to go to arbitration, lawsuits. You'll lose a client. Somebody can fire you. You need to fire them. This is just part of it. You just got to learn to become better and be resilient and use the basic principles of saving, investing, identifying who your core client is, adapting your business to the marketplace and identifying where the best spaces are, and be prepared to take the losses like you do the gains. If you don't, you'll end up in pain.
Yeah, and that's business, man. That's business all day. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. So let's talk about the Bookbank Foundation. It's such a powerful bridge between literacy and hope. Can you tell us about it and what inspired you to create the Bookbank Foundation?
Well, one day I looked at my success, how much money I had earned. I was really pleased with myself and was looking for something else to do. Alonzo and I ended up selling the sports agency. Um, from there, figuring out where I wanted to go next before we did the sale. We were still in the middle of it. And I realized that I had amassed a certain amount of wealth, influence, power, and I was able to leverage celebrity clients and me putting myself as an influencer and as a leader to tell people to come back and help resolve our issues and control where, how we want our neighborhoods to look and how we want the children to move. I mean, anything from drug dealers to the police department to politicians, we have a voice on it. Self-policing means we have to do the work with ourselves. So I started a foundation called the Bookbank Foundation. Books, because education is the first step to eliminating the disease of poverty. And poverty is the first step into incarceration, mental illness, oftentimes, drug abuse, violence, economic disparity. And then when you think of a bank, we have a mental bank, a spiritual bank, emotional bank, financial bank. Book and bank together is where it is. And that's the foundation of how we can change the decrees of life. We've been around for 29 years, going on 30, with amazing programs. We have something called Shelter from the Streets. We go to New York City, all 5 boroughs, help the lost, the lonely, and the forgotten. We have a program called Groceries to Grow, which is dear to me. And I pause for a second because there's so many families and so many people that don't have the kind of food that they need. They're in a food desert. Imagine a child that goes to school every day and his stomach grumbles so loud that he can't hear the lesson. He can't concentrate. So we work with them on a program where we give them a time to give them good food that we provide privately, directly to the house or at designated centers. And we give them a chance to learn the rudiments of how to save, how to manage, how to shop, how to designate, how to make a budget and prepare food properly, as well as maintain it and feed a family, and then they grow to have their own. Moreover, I'm happy about this, the Book Bank Aviation Camp, where we take kids from the age of 12 to 19, teach them about aviation, headed by the great captain, John Addison, one of the leaders in flight and the aviation world. He's a pilot at Southwest, and so many other programs that we're doing. So that's been a part of my ministry. It's a way I talk to people so that I can rediscover myself. People can discover my pain, my pursuit for purpose. They can discover my pain, my failures, my leadership, or my losses. I'm presenting to take the values of my life to bring somebody else's life to become more valuable.
Yes, man. Yes. And here's the thing, listening to you, you know, you got what it takes and it takes what you got. I can't
Take it
say
easy.
about everybody.
Take it easy, Reg. Don't drop the bars, baby.
I'm just saying, man, everybody's not built for that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? God definitely has his hands on you and he's built you a certain way. He's formed you a certain way for what he has for your life. And I can see it and I can hear it just talking with you. Because here's the thing. You've lived through multiple lifetimes in one: music, sports, finance, philanthropy. How do you stay aligned with your greater purpose through all of those shifts, man?
Wow. Woo, these questions are something else, brother. I learned at the middle of my life, invest in people. Human currency, human capital is the greatest asset you can ever find. Find the person that lines up with you, that will either meet you and greet you for your purpose or defeat you and stop you from a victory. Line up with them right. Find them properly. Find her properly. Invest in them and set up the situation that you're not always giving every piece of the tool or all of the puzzle. You don't want to hold them down and put them on a muzzle. You want to give them enough drink that they can always guzzle. So what I try to say is you got to share it all. A matter of fact, you never know when you're up against the wall. And you got to make that call. You don't have to crawl because you didn't hold back the talent and the blessings installed. You brought them to the ball. They can shop through the mall, and you got a good friend anytime that you call. I mean, call them to the circle or the center of it all. And this is what I'm talking about. I have to share it. And if I don't do it right, my failure, I will wear it instead of me asking Christ to bear it or anybody else. It's on me. What I give is what I get. And what I get is what I give. That's how I live. Had to have some fun. You dropped the bar, Reg.
So we don't got some of the Sweety G in here now. That was good, man. That was good. So let me ask you this, Glenn. Let me ask you this. If you could speak to a young, creative, or future change maker who feels unseen, unsupported right now, what would you say to them?
I would say when you find yourself, and finding ourselves is a lifetime pursuit. If you don't find anything within, find a parent, a loved one, find a stranger, let them be your mirror. How are they responding to you? How do people respond to your pain? How do they respond to your jokes? Are you connected to your folks? Because if you're not, profit doesn't always have an honor at home. Maybe you need to find your community, find the village that you need to be in. But you got to listen to the whisper of the voice. The whisper of the voice is the calling of God. You listen to the calling of God and he awakens the voice in you, the fire in you, purpose in you. You don't have to speak and it'll echo through canyons in the work that you're doing. So young people, younger people, and even those of you that are old, I'll tell you something that I was once told. We have to sit and meditate and listen to ourselves and wake up every morning to try to fix what we didn't do yesterday. We have a chance to be, because I say I want to die greater than I lived. Silence, being still, being patient, getting space, and allow others to live and be patient with the world. And you will catch up to yourself. You will catch up to your calling, and God will seat you on your throne.
That's it, man. I'm going to leave that right there. I got one last question for you. How can my listeners follow you on social media and connect with the Bookbank Foundation?
Go to my website, Dr. Glenn, Glenn, Toby, TOBY.com, and all things social media, Glenn Toby. Go to that website, check out that TED Talk. Me and Reg were talking about, speaking and communicating like we're doing here. I want to thank everybody that tunes into the podcast. Keep it tight. Let's get it right.
There you have it. Dr. Glenn Toby, man, thank you so much for hanging out with me, man. It's been a blast. And I really, 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 I'll be honest with you, I really honor and appreciate the things you're doing for the kingdom and the things you're doing for the world, the things you're doing for people, man. We need more people like you in this world, and I'm going to pray that we keep raising them up.
Yeah.
To be,
that's the key.
What the vision is.
Yeah. When two come together, I mean, you're from South Carolina, funny enough. I have a new sports agency. It's called the Winner's Circle. Founded it with Raheem Vick and Brady Jackson. We're going back educating these young athletes because now the universities, the higher courts have now said that universities can pay the players directly with tremendous amounts of money, tens, 20 of millions. And the average athlete goes broke or has financial issues within 4 years. So we're teaching people in name, image, and likeness, which is what we're doing from middle school to university, right there where you are. North Carolina, we're representing an amazing lady, Zoe Brooks, number 35 of North Carolina State. And she's just an amazing athlete. And she's gone from earning some money to a really large amount of money. We're doing a camp in your beautiful state, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. That'll be coming up August the 2nd. So, hey, man, coming back home and trying to be a reflection or trying to be the example of the wholeness of one.
That's it, man. That's it. I really appreciate you. Everybody, Dr. Glenn Toby, make sure you follow him, what he's doing. It's very amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you for tuning in to Real Talk Reginald D. If you enjoyed listening to Real Talk Reginald D, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. See you next time.